Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Cochino, Tom Lawler, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that puts the lotion on its own skin, LuchaWorld. Bitchin'.
Welcome everyone to LuchaWorld Podcast episode number 108. This week we will recap this past Friday's CMLL show, which had a really great main event, and this past Saturday's AAA show, which was really good. Top to start to finish, really a good show. I kind of thought the last two matches weren't as strong as the earlier part, but also I think it was also I kind of tuned out at that point because I was doing something else at that point. But it wasn't. I still thought they were pretty good, and we will also be previewing AAA's Verano de Escandalo, scheduled for June 16th, and CMLL's upcoming big show, Juicio Final, scheduled for May 31st, this upcoming Friday. I think both shows should be interesting. Obviously with the CMLL show being a little closer, they basically had the Friday show that really was there to build up, the big show, trying to get people to want to watch that. I don't know, I think there's some stuff that actually worked for it, but I'm not sure if it was a total success. But I thought like I said, the build up for that, you kind of expect a little bit more out of it. But now with this, CML basically this recently said that the plan going forward was that they were going to try to have a big event every month, and this is really the first big event since that announcement. It kind of was, as soon as they announced that, it kind of seemed like as soon as they announced that, they decided to start doing the hair matches. So there really wasn't as much build up, but I think it's in 2019 now. We know wrestling, the build up to a big match is basically 1 month or 2 months. There really isn't like a long build, unless there's like something specific that they can actually get a lot out of that feud or rivalry or a series of matches. Then that's the only way that it actually works, where it could actually be something that has been built up over a longer period of time than just 1 month. This show kind of Juicio Final kind of has a lot of matches that are, the big stipulation matches were really built up within a month or even less than that. But this past Friday, May 24th, the CML show, I thought was, prior to the main event, I thought it was a very, an okay average show. I skipped the opener just because it's an opener, and CML openers, I mean, these guys are all handcuffed and restricted to they can't do certain dives. And then, some of the guys aren't very good. It's kind of, I think the technicals, for the most part, there's like a handful of guys that are really good, like Halcon Soriano Jr., Electrico, guys like that I could totally see pull off something good in an opener. But unfortunately, they're always in there with some of the older veteran rudos who are kind of not there to try to. They're not really trying to make. They're either not trying to make them look good, or they're just not capable of doing it. They kind of fall into either one of those categories. And then you maybe have like a third group of guys who are kind of pretty good, but again, they're restricted. They can't do certain things, and it's kind of unfortunate because when you see a CMLL opener and you compare it to AAA opener, AAA openers are usually really fun, totally opposite of what CML's openers have become, unless they're in the big show. That's the only time they're really, and maybe that's a good thing. Now that we're getting a monthly big show, that pretty much means that we're at least going to get possibly 12 average to above average openers, because a lot of the CML openers on Fridays have been below average. The second match on the Friday show was it had Virus in it, and this was like, Black Panther, Blue Panther Jr. Fuego ended up winning. They beat Virus, Kawado-san, and Mysterioso Jr. But man, this was one of these weirdly booked matches where Virus looked like just a dominant. They just had him booked like he was gonna dominate the technicals, and he did so in the first fall. I thought that was like so cool to see him, because he's a tiny guy, but he still plays the role of a bully really well. And they kind of did a great job in the first fall, made it look like, man, you really want to see Virus in that retirement match. And then in the third fall, it just fell apart. They ended up having him lose. I think he took everyone's like big move at one point or something. They did something really like that just made it look like everything they were doing well in the first fall. They just really threw it out the window in the third fall. The third match was the women's match. Amapola, Dallas, and La Metallica beat Kaho Kobayashi, Princesa Suhei, and Estrellita. Estrellita hit a cool tope suicida. But really, this match was about Kaho Kobayashi and Amapola. They did a really good job, a way better job of getting you more excited about their match at Juicio Final than they did the previous week. I think it was the previous week, the match Relampago, where it just looked like they just did not look like they were in sync. They didn't look good at all against each other. This time around, they really worked well together. I think Kaho, like if you were to pick the best female wrestlers in Mexico right now, she is by far the best one in CMLL right now. She's probably in the top 5 in Mexico right now, which is unfortunate because she's probably going to leave soon, and that will suck. That'll just mean that CML's women's division is back to the usual stuff. But yeah, I thought their what they did was really good, and I thought the women's match was actually better than the usual women's matches. The fourth match was probably the second best match on the card. Euphoria Templario Gran Guerrero beat Soberano Jr., Stuka Jr., Valiente. I thought Soberano Jr. looked really good working with the Guerreros Laguneros. Just a really good job. He looked really great. He did his tornillo to the outside. I think his tornillo looks so much cooler when he flies from the top rope to the outside, because obviously it's a further drop. So he doesn't look like he's just like the dive doesn't look like he's just, it does, like when he does it in the ring, kind of looks like he just stands and falls. It doesn't look as cool. Whereas when he does it from a higher place and dives, like if the extra like 3 to 4 feet or whatever amount that he gets from that dive going from the top rope to the outside makes it look so much cooler than it does when he does it in the ring. But he was really good. He looked really good in the match. The girls Laguneros were really good also. I thought this was like a cool way to show the team without Ultimo Guerrero. It'd be kind of cool if they actually did something with those three and had Ultimo Guerrero do his own thing. It would have been cool. I think maybe that's something they could do down the road. Maybe like the non-Ultimo Guerreros go up against the Dinamitas. Maybe go for the national tag team, national trios titles. I think that would be something pretty cool. Obviously, the Dinamitas would have to win just because we can't have the girls Laguneros holding every title in CMLL, or it's either the girls Laguneros or NGD that hold the belts, like the majority of titles anyways right now. But I thought that was a good match. Templario was awesome. I thought Gran Guerrero and Euphoria also looked really good. The other two technicals, Stuka Jr. Valiente also. It's kind of funny how Diamante Azul wasn't on this show, and it makes me wonder if he's even going to be in Juicio Final. But honestly, they probably could have done Stuka Jr. as Valiente and Valiente as a tag team. Probably would have been a way better tag team than Valiente and Diamante Azul. But that was a really good match. The fourth match, really good. Far better than the stuff prior to that. And far better than the semi-main event, which was basically just building up Máscara Año 2000 and Ultimo Guerrero, as Máscara Año 2000 teamed up with Cuatrero and Forastero to beat Ultimo Guerrero, Negro Casas, and Felino. This match was very okay, average. Like I said, just build up to the Ultimo Guerrero Máscara Año 2000 feud. They threw a lot of punches, and they actually hit each other hard enough, because in the post-match media interviews, you could see Máscara Año 2000's he had a lot of bruises in his face and in his chest area, and I think Ultimo Guerrero also had his nose was kind of bruised also. I think they were throwing in a little bit harder punch to get a little more. I guess they wanted to get more people to think that this was going to be a little more realistic or something, like a shoot or something. But I thought that match was very average. I don't know if Ultimo Guerrero versus Máscara Año 2000 is going to be this great match, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The main event, Mistico beat Barbaro Cavernario, and this match was great. I can't even remember the last time. I think the last time I saw Mistico in a singles match was the Nero Casas match Relampago last year, and that match was horrible. I mean, I don't know how many people remember that. That match was really bad. I don't even know if that was Nero Casas and Mistico having an off night, or was just Mistico looking bad. It was just a bad match. This match was great. Barbaro Cavernario was awesome. I think this match kind of sealed Barbaro Cavernario as one of the top I would say he's top 3 to 5 in Mexico right now this year. Honestly, he might be number 1 just because top 3, just because I don't know if I would consider Phoenix and Penta. They're not regulars because they're wrestling so much outside of Mexico right now. They wrestle in Mexico, but it's kind of like they're wrestling half their time Mexico, the other half in the United States, and they're really not like they haven't been pushed as much. I don't think they've done as much in AAA. I don't know. They've mostly just done a lot of tag team wrestling. Even in the Crash, they've mostly done a lot of tag team wrestling. But I think if you're gonna go like top 3 this year, Psycho Clown has to be up there. Carbonario. I would consider Phoenix and Penta somewhere in there. Although I think Phoenix probably a little more. I'm trying to think who else has been in that mix. Aramis has been in that mix as one of the top guys. Just guys who are more regularly working in Mexico. Titan has been really good also. Ultimo Guerrero's been very good as well. There's just been a lot of guys, but I think Cavernario is up there, and he really showed it in this match. I think, and the other thing that was really good about this match was that the Cavernario did such a great job of being a heel, a Rudo, that the crowd was actually not as hateful towards Mistico. So they were kind of they were more not necessarily pro Mistico, but actually kind of cheering for him, just like they would a regular babyface, a Technico. He kind of got that type of reaction. Also, I think maybe this crowd was also not. There were probably more tourists there where they weren't going to be so hateful towards Mistico. But like I said, Cavernario just did a fantastic job. From the moment the bell rang, he was playing more of a Rudo, tossing Mistico all over the ringside area. I think early on he hit him with some cable wires. He was just doing a lot more as a Rudo, throwing him over the guardrail. So I thought that was really good with that. Plus, I think Mistico also stuck to like his really, just doing dives and stuff. He was mostly selling, because like I said, Cavernario was the one that was just beating on him, ripping his mask apart, stuff like that. I think that really helped the match. And I think this was one of the more complete, to me, this was one of the more complete singles matches I've seen in CMLL, just because the first 2 falls, there was a lot of energy in them. Like usually in CMLL, the first 2 falls, everybody's seen them. One fall will go 30 seconds and the other one will maybe go 3 minutes, and there really isn't that much going on. But this match, they kind of had early on, Cavernario kind of dominating the match, beating up Mistico getting an upset win, and then, finally Mistico, and then the third fall was fantastic. I thought it was great how Cavernario tried to get the win with the Cavernaria. He hit his big plancha off the top rope to the floor. They just pulled off all the big moves, and then Mistico caught him with La Mystica for the win. Crowd was really into it. Money thrown. Like I said, this was a really great match, and I kind of agree with what a couple months ago Rush and Dragon Lee said, that they didn't think Mistico was getting that big of a push in CMLL. I think they kind of like kept them as just part of the fun technical trios with a combination of Volador Jr., his brother Dragon Lee, Caristico, Valiente, that type of just a really fun trio that they usually have him in, but they haven't done anything with him as far as a singles wrestler. And to me, the Mistico, and I think a lot of people make the case that they probably don't because people will boo him, but I also think that you kind of have to do it, and you have to find ways. I think that's the responsibility of the Rudo or whoever he's wrestling, to play it up more as a heel. I mean, we've gotten so many Volador Jr. singles matches and Ultimo Guerrero singles matches. It'd be nice to throw in a couple of other guys mixed in there. We've gotten like a couple of other guys like Niebla Roja, Angel de Oro, Cavernario, Titan, Mephisto. I think they got to throw in a few other guys like Hechicero, Mistico. Hechicero is very vastly underutilized in CMLL. He's a guy that should easily be in a singles match at least once a month. That's televised or, streamed or whatever you want to call it. Same thing with Mistico. I think he has to be used in that fashion too. I think part of the blame also belongs to Mistico. Honestly, if you follow him on social media, you see that he's always in Acapulco. So I don't think he's in the same mentality that has the same mentality that Dragon Lee and Rouge have as far as their careers go. I think he's okay with being Mistico and just being on shows and stuff like that. He hasn't really done anything to I think he's really gonna have to put in a little more work, more effort, or maybe politic his way into getting a little more opportunities in singles matches, because I think he could pull it off. I think there's enough guys. I think there's enough guys that could get something out of him. Cavernario, obviously the Nero Casas match was a disaster, but even Nero Casas could probably get something out of him. And there's even I wouldn't mind seeing Volador Jr. versus Mistico and Volador Jr. playing it up as a heel. They had that one. I think they had that one match. I think they had a singles match or a tag match where they were on opposite ends, and Volador Jr. was just being a total rudo against him, and it actually looked cool and it actually worked. And it was only like a 2-3 minute match because it wasn't one of those tournament matches, but it actually looked really cool. It's something that they could do also. But I do think they got to do a little more with Mistico. Cavernario is awesome, and they've done a lot with him this year, and they got to continue doing a lot with him. He's somebody that I don't even get how Ring of Honor has not brought him in once. They got to figure that out, because he's somebody that they should actually be bringing in fairly regularly, especially if they could get access to him. I mean, if he misses one Friday show, it's not the end of the world, because CML can fill out the rest of the show. CML has so many guys that they don't even use on Friday shows that are pretty good. Hechicero's one. So I think there's ways of getting Cavernario in Ring of Honor. I don't know if they've actually been able to pry him away, or maybe they just figured they're just not really thinking about bringing him in. Who knows? But we got to talk about, that was the other thing. Matt Taven was supposed to be on this on one of these shows, and he wasn't on. And the belief was that this main event of Mistico Cavernario probably wouldn't have happened if Taven had actually made the trip to Mexico, I think the week prior. So he probably would have ended up in a singles match with the guest would have been him versus Volador Jr. again, which I don't mind, because I think they're pretty good matches, and I'm probably more tolerant on watching Volador Jr. versus anyone in singles matches than most people. I do feel that they get repetitive, so I actually get the people who don't want to see that. I totally get that. I'm a little more tolerant over it, just because I'm a fan of his. I wouldn't say I'm like a super mark for him. It's not quite at that level, but it doesn't bother me. It would bother me if every week we were getting Matt Taven versus Volador Jr., then it would be something totally different. But like I said, even I get tired of seeing that, just because it's not so much that I get tired of seeing Volador Jr. in singles matches. It's more that I get tired that CML doesn't do more with other guys in singles matches besides Volador Jr. and Ultimo Guerrero. And now, at least now they're adding Cavernario, and they finally discovered Titan can do more than just wrestle Mephisto and Pulvera. Pulvera, I haven't seen Pulvera in a singles match in a while, so he's somebody else that they got to do something with. But we were fortunate enough to get this match, and I thought that was a good way to lead into the Juicio Final show coming up this Friday. This is basically CML's big plan of running a monthly event, and this is the first one, like I said. And originally there were 6 matches announced, but on Sunday shows, they started doing this Relevos Increíbles. They did a series of Relevos Increíbles matches for undercard guys, and they had Virus and Metallico on opposite ends, on opposite sides, and somehow from that undercard trios Relevos Increíbles matches, they got a feud out of Virus versus Metallico, which they did I think they did a singles match, and then Virus just demanded Metallico demanded a hair match, and Virus then decided to make it. He suggested that instead of a hair match, they should do a retirement match, a loser must retire match. So this was really weird because I think everybody figured that this was going to happen this past Sunday. The reason a lot of people thought it was going to happen on Sundays was because CML recently announced that they were going to be airing the Sunday show on a channel called Mexicanese. In in Mexico, and I think there's some U.S. networks that might actually get cable networks that might actually get that channel. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure they even air that show because a lot of times I don't think sometimes CMLL doesn't realize that what airs in Mexico might not air in the United States on some of those channels. So but it's possible that it airs, and so everybody just assumed that it was going to happen on a Sunday. Even Virus and Metallico thought this was going to happen this past Sunday, which was May 26th. But instead of that, CMLL had announced that they were going to do they actually had Virus scheduled to work the opener on Juicio Final, but when they announced that they were going to have that because of this retirement match, CML had decided that they would actually do this match, loser must retire, Metallico versus Virus. They made this announcement that Virus had been pulled out of Juicio Final, and that they would announce because they weren't sure he would even be there. So apparently, initially, I think this match was going to happen on a Sunday, and I guess somebody in CML must have realized, we need to add something extra to Juicio Final because I didn't think that without this match, I don't know if it was that interesting. It wasn't that strong of a card. I think there's more interest in Virus versus Metallico in a retirement match than anything else on this card, honestly. Just because even like Virus and Metallico were surprised that this actually is going to happen. I don't know. It kind of like, I don't know if they're either really doing a great job of keeping, they're really good at playing poker, and they're keeping their poker faces. So everybody's kind of like trying to think, maybe this just came out of nowhere and CML just said, hey, this is a great idea, let's do it. Because Virus said he was surprised that CML had accepted it. But like I said, I don't even know if that's even true that he thinks that. Yeah, no idea how they just decided to like switch it over to the Friday show. But I think I don't know, it kind of felt like it just came out of nowhere. So there's like this really kind of intriguing situation where you're kind of wondering why these two guys would to do this. Maybe one of them finally decided to retire just out of the blue because, I think Metallica's kind of gotten a little more popular with the whole Pedro Infante look-alike character that he does. But Virus is a really great worker, and I think there's a small chance that people are kind of worried that he might lose. That would take away one of the really great workers in CMLL, and that would be a huge loss. He was asked after this past Friday show what if he had thought about what would happen if he lost, and he basically said that he would just continue training new talent in Arena Mexico for CMLL. I don't know. That's one of those. It just came out of nowhere, but I think it does add a little more interest in this for this show. The entire card, I mean, I think it's good matches for the most part. The opener has Black Panther, Blue Panther Jr., and Reiko Meta versus Kawato-san, Misterioso Jr., and Disturbio. While the technical side has two really good technicos, the Rudo side has Disturbio. Misterioso Jr. can be good at some point, and I think Misterioso Jr. can be good at times, but I'm not sure this match is really going to be his. It's not like he's going to be the standout of this. I think it comes down to what Reiko Meta and Black Panther do in the match. Everyone else is, and I think Disturbio versus Reiko Meta would be a fun matchup to see. The second match is Los Hijos del Infierno, Mephisto, Hefesto, and Luciferno teaming up to face Angel de Oro, Niebla Roja, and Soberano Jr. I think that should be a pretty good match. You got the Technico trio that has become kind of like the behind the sky team or whatever variation of Sky Team we get. That's like the secondary trio with Angel de Oro, Niebla Sobrano Jr. They've been really good against the Dinamitas. So it should be interesting to see what they get out of the Hijos del Infierno. Hijos del Infierno can be a little bit, they're a slower Rudo trio, but I think this should be a good match. Then we get to the big matches. The third match is Virus versus Metallico. This was announced as a one fall, no time limit, loser must retire match, which was funny because on I think it was in an interview where I think it might have been in Forma where Virus said this was no time limit. So he said it's no time limit, so it's longer than 10 minutes. So I think it was kind of him like joking about how he never works long singles matches nowadays. So in CMLL, so this should be. I think this is going to be the match that I think everybody's most interested in, and also the one that we're all going to be concerned about because if Virus loses, that's going to be a big loss for the undercard in CMLL. Just because I mean I like Metallico as a character, and he's actually really good on interviews also, by the way, but he's just so in the ring, okay at best. So Virus, I kind of think Virus is probably going to win. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. The fourth match, Kaho Kobayashi versus Amapola in a hair match. This is probably, whereas Virus and Metallico the build-up was really 2 weeks. This one kind of has had a build-up of about a month, maybe a little longer. I would say mostly a month. This is another one I could see go either way, just because I think a lot of people are kind of thinking because they've seen Kaho Kobayashi has her hair longer, so they're thinking maybe she's going to lose her hair. But it was about a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, I noticed Amapola was on CML Informa. I think this was when she was on with Marcella and somebody else, and they were talking about, women's wrestling. I can't remember what they were talking about. And I noticed she was wearing braces. So usually when someone is wearing braces or has something that they have, like something like some new like suit or something, or they're getting married, or even if they're like there's some change in their life, like braces, something like that, you kind of start wondering maybe they're the ones that are gonna lose their hair, lose the hair match, get the big payday. But like I said, this is one of those that's also kind of intriguing, just because Kaho Kobayashi, I do agree she's kind of grown her hair a little longer, very colorful also. Somebody who was the one that lost his hair recently that had like red hair. I totally can't remember. I'm blanking on it. I think it was Angel de Oro or Niebla Roja won the hair. Yeah, I'm blanking on it. But yeah, I kind of think that's something that, because I know it had to be Niebla Roja because he keeps hair wrapped in plates for some reason, which is really funny. No, it was Disturbio. Disturbio lost his hair. Yeah, he lost his hair to God. Who did he lose his hair to? It was on a Saturday show, I think. He had the purple hair, so that's just my thing. The different, it adds a little more color to the whole thing. So there's that. There's her having different hair color, and Amapola having braces. It's a matter of what you think is what that person who needs the money more, and I kind of have a feeling Amapola might need the money more for her braces. The fifth match is Diamante Azul and Valiente defending the CML World Tag Team titles against Euphoria and Gran Guerrero. I can't even remember the last time I saw Diamante Azul on a CMLL show. He might have been on something that was recent. I haven't seen him recently. I kind of hope Euphoria and Gran Guerrero win, just because I think you could get more out of them as a tag team, and they could feud with Angel. They've already got that rivalry with Angel de Oro and Niebla Roja, who I think are really the tag team in CMLL at the moment, or even Dragonland and Mistico, the other tag team that might be actually pretty good. There's a little more options, whereas with Diamante Azul and Valiente, I mean, honestly, I think they've done Bestia del Ring, and they were going to do Bestia del Ring and was it Terrible versus them, and it was like, that sounded like a horrible match. Yeah, it was that in Puebla, and they switched when that was when Diamante Azul said was hurt or something, and they switched it over to Terrible versus Valiente, so for the national heavyweight title. But that match might be good, and I'm hoping there is a tag title change. The sixth match is what I just said about Mistico. He's always in the fun technical trio. He's teaming up with Caristico and Volador Jr. versus La Peste Negra, Cavernario, Mr. Niebla, Negro Casas. That should be good. There is that slight risk that Mr. Niebla might show up, not able to wrestle. But I think lately he hasn't been that bad. So I think maybe he's on good behavior right now. The one that's kind of been acting out has been Zacharias El Perico. But that should be a good match. I could see that being something. I could totally see that trio at some point maybe challenging one for the. I wouldn't be shocked if Caristico, Mistico, Volador Jr. become like, they end up like, if they do the next big show in June, they could be in a trios match with either NGD or Girls Laguneros. The 7th match, the main event, Ultimo Girl versus Mascarenhas 2000 in a hair match. I mean, this is like the no-brainer. I think we all know Mascarenhas 2000 is almost, I would say, 99.999999999% losing that match. I can't see Ultimo Girl losing his hair to Mascarenhas 2000 on this Juicio Final show. His hair is something that should be like lost on an anniversary show or on a Dos Leyendas. This show, I think it would be like something that, I mean, they could do it here, but I mean, because it's just hair, but I don't see him losing to Mascarenhas 2000. And I do kind of expect some interference in that match. But overall, I think this show should be good. Where can you watch it? Who knows? It might stream for free on through Claro Sports. And if Claro Sports is region blocked, I'm sure the Cubs fan will actually stream it, since he has he knows how to get through break through the whole region block stuff. And then obviously it would probably be posted on YouTube. And also, I think there's also the chance that the Saturday show will also air that. If you have is it Univision Deportes or Televisa Deportes? I don't know what it is. But that channel, then it should be on there the following day, at least some form of this. I would guess at least the 2 hair matches would be on that. I think that's, I would think that I wouldn't be shocked if the loser must retire match ends up on the other show that they're doing in for the other company. Although I wouldn't be shocked, because I think this last week they added an extra half hour to the show. So it might be possible that they might actually get all 3 matches on Univision. I think it's Univision Deportes, right? Yeah. So that's what is scheduled for Juicio Final. CMLL also announced, and I think this is probably going to be the plan for the June show, but they announced a Copa Dinastia tag team tournament. This is basically tag teams featuring family members. So you might get like Dragon Lee and Mistico, although I don't think you could get Dragon Lee because he's in. He might actually be back in time for this, but I kind of not sure. I would guess it's possible that he will be there. I think he would be available for the second group. But if not, they could just. I think it's only 8 teams, so it's not that it's not going to be, because they already have the Chavez brothers, the Guerreros, Rush is there, the Casas family. I'm trying to think what other, Volador Jr. and Flyer. So they have enough. I think they have enough. The Panthers. So there's enough family members to do 8 teams. So they should actually be able to do that. That's something that they're pretty much bringing from the Fantastica Mania tour. They previously did the trios tournament. That was this. The Copa Dinastia, that was a trios. If you remember that, the winning trio was supposed to get a title shot. A trio, I think it might have been the CMLL World Trios titles, and it ended up being the Casas family that won that, and they actually didn't get the title shot till like May or something. That tournament happened like in November, and they didn't get their shot till like not even May. It might have been June or July. Might have been later than that. But people just constantly kept bringing it up. I think I might have interviewed one of the Casas family members while that was going, like before they even got the shot, because I think one of them told me that they had no idea when that was going to happen. Also, on the Sunday show, they had Nero Casas they had a trios match, and Nero Casas, after the match, Nero Casas challenged Soberano Jr. He wanted a shot at the national welterweight title. So that seems to be in the works. And then Soberano Jr. Challenged Nero Casas to a mask versus hair match. So that might actually be another match that might actually be part of the next big show for CMLL. I'm kind of curious if they're actually really going through this whole idea of the big shows, if they're going to actually pull it off. I mean, just going through it, January, you have the best of show, which is like the first week of January. February, they don't have anything. March, Dos Leyendas. April, I don't think they have anything for April. I think they actually celebrate the anniversary, or Mexico's anniversary or something, I think. But they don't really do anything. May, they're doing Juicio Final. June, I can't remember the last time they did anything. July, they haven't, I don't think they've done anything in the last couple of years. August, obviously they're going to build around the Natalia Vasquez Torneo Cibernetico. And maybe some of the women will remember who that is. September is the anniversary show. And then October, they do the Dia de Muertos show in the final Friday, and then the first Tuesday of November. So that would cover that. They did the Grand Prix in October, so they could always move the Grand Prix to like July or August. And then November they have the Legends show, and then December they have Sin Piedad. So I think honestly, I mean, they have enough shows. They have enough. Like if they planned it properly, they would be fine. But the problem is they don't plan properly. And then the other thing is like they could move Grand Prix around, but then Grand Prix, like if you're gonna do Mexico versus the world, now you're gonna have like a lot of scheduling conflicts because you're depending on New Japan and Ring of Honor and whatever local, obviously Okumura, Kawato-san, or Dark Magic would fill one or two of those spots in the Grand Prix turn for the team, the foreigners. But then you have to go figure out, five or six other guys, and we lost Michael Elgin now that he's in Impact. So I would think that would be a little more difficult, just because CML doesn't really do a lot of scouting. I would think. I mean, I think there's a way to do it, but that would be the one show that I think is the tough one to figure out, just for them, because now there's even been like the women kind of wanting to do a Grand Prix for the women. That wouldn't be a bad idea if they could figure that out, but I don't know I have no idea what CML is gonna do. They could bring in those two guys from The Crash, the Mecha Wolf and Adam Brooks. I thought they were really good. I don't know. I mean, I think they do have enough to like figure out they could easily figure out at least 6 or 7 of these big shows. I think it's going to be hard just for the Grand Prix, and then figure out what else they could possibly do to be a big show. You don't want to become, I think that's the hard thing. Like, you can't have like that many hair matches or mask matches during a year, because it's just going to be like a little bit of a waste of time. I think they should probably do a Night of Champions, just do like 6 title matches. I don't think they would ever do that, but I mean, they have 18 to 20 titles in CML. If they did a Night of Champions, I think they could pull that off, and they wouldn't even have to use all of them, because it just use 6 titles. I think that would be something worth doing. I don't know. There's shows, there's stuff they could do. Hopefully this is actually something that they are going to plan on doing, and stick with it. So I guess we should start talking about AAA, which I thought was this past Saturday show was really good. I recommend you guys watch it. If you have a Twitch account, you should go out of your way to watch the show. I think start to finish. If you can't watch start to finish, I would recommend at least watching the 3rd, 4th, and 5th match. I would say those would be the matches to watch. And maybe even the second match I thought was pretty good. But, I just thought it was a really good show, honestly. Like, because even like the matches I wasn't high on, I thought were just good matches. But I thought the third and fifth match were really, really, really good. The fifth match was great. The opener had La Parquita back from his injury, and he was actually doing really well. I think he did a tornado to the outside, which I thought was really cool. The Rudos were really solid in the match. Eclipse Jr., who was previously Lancelot. I don't remember Lancelot being a mini. I remember him just being a regular sized dude that kind of teamed up with minis when they did the mixed tags, trios, relevos de locura, and all that stuff. But I don't know. Maybe he's regressing now that he's been giving a new name, and now he's like a mini. And I don't think he's a mini. He's kind of like a tall mini. But I thought that was a really good opener. Not as good as some of the like those crazy. I kind of think Tijuana and Mexicali shows are basically going to be the shows that are going to have these crazy openers, and anything outside of those places, the openers are going to be good, but they're not going to be as crazy as that. And I thought this was just a good opener. After the opener, Daga came out, and he's been getting a huge push in AAA. He's basically putting down everything about the Perros del Mal and how people are still living in the past. And he did a really good job of insulting the crowd. And then Taya showed up, confronted him, and Taya speaks good English, good Spanish. That was something I think that's something that I heard what Taya and Marco Corleone did while they're in Mexico, with Marco in the past and now Taya presently. I think that kind of shows you how dedicated they were to Lucha Libre and accepting they really got into the Mexican culture, and it's kind of become part of them. So it's kind of funny when people don't call, like, I know when people, she takes offense when people don't consider her like a luchadora. I kind of think she is, just because, I mean, when you take that much, when you're not really, you're a foreigner, but you take so much of the Mexican culture with you, and you take the time to learn the language. I think you've kind of earned your stripes, being in that, being allowed to be called a luchador. I mean, Marco, to me, he kind of was somebody that just was able to blend his style in perfectly with Lucha Libre. And I don't think Taya's style quite blends into Lucha Libre, but I think what she does as far as being a character and, her promo skills and just kind of being more open to all that stuff, I think she's kind of filled into that. I don't think, when you tell me a foreigner, Tessa's a foreigner to me. Tessa Blanchard is a foreigner. Kaho Kobayashi is a foreigner. Taya kind of has already become like, oh, she's just, Wera Loca, but she's part of she's kind of more I don't know, she's more Mexican. I guess you could say she's more Mexican than some of the foreigners. But I thought that was a cool part of the show where they have their confrontation, they have a fight. Tessa comes out, and they double team her, and then Laredo Kid makes a save. I think Tessa's really good. I think that's the one thing, especially in the trios match. I'll mention just what I thought about her when she was in her match. But I thought that was a good segment right there with the whole. I guess they're now feuding with Taya, both Daga and Tessa. And Taya, I don't know if Taya's gonna bring in Johnny Mundo, but for right now she's with Laredo Kid, and I think she's teaming up with Willie Mack on an upcoming show. So after that, we get the storyline of Lady Maravilla, Nino Hamburguesa, and Big Mommy. And the match itself was pretty good. I mean, Villano 3 Jr.'s great. Drastic Boy was really good. And, the crowd is really into Big Mommy and Nino Hamburguesa. We got to see Tiger Boy, or as he's listed as, Tigger Boy, in this match. And he was actually really good as well. And I thought this match was pretty good. But it was more storyline than anything else. So if you're not into this storyline, you're probably not going to like the match as much. But it was good. I mean, just because you're you can't have a bad match with Verano 3 Jr. and Drastic Boy in the match. It's going to be a good match. Lady Maravilla has been really solid in AAA. She made the right decision. I mean, if you watched her in CMLL when she was doing Forma and all these other interviews, she had a lot more personality. And I think she would have just died a slow death in those random ongoing trios matches that the women are forced to do in CMLL. I think it works for certain women, but for her, she kind of has more personality. And I think AAA figured it out. Conan figured it out. And they've really done a great job with the storyline. I like how the crowd was so wanting Big Mommy and Nino Hamburguesa to kiss each other. At one point, Conan on commentary. That's the other thing. Conan was on commentary with Jose Manuel Guillen, which is probably the best commentary crew that AAA could put together. And Conan on the mic was like, I don't understand why Big Mommy or Lady Maravilla are interested in Nino Hamburguesa. He sees nothing. And then I think he made a joke about the whole I think everybody's heard of that the game Fuck Marry Kill. He kind of made a, it wasn't like completely like he said the whole thing, but he kind of said, well, maybe Nino Hamburguesa can have Lady Maravilla on the side and marry Big Mommy, which was pretty funny. But the storyline, again, Nino Hamburguesa decides to leave with Lady Maravilla, still putting in doubt one of the best tag teams in all of wrestling, because oddly enough, Nino Hamburguesa and Big Mommy are probably, like, if you did a list of top 10 tag teams, I mean, they would have to be on the list just because they've been the longest reigning tag team champions as far as in the bigger promotions in Mexico. I mean, we got to do like a top 10 tag teams in Mexico right now. They got to be in there. I mean, they got to be up there with the Lucha Brothers, Chavez Brothers. Who else is there? Diamante Azul and Valiente. They're way better than Diamante Azul and Valiente. I think Aramis and Imposible. I'm trying to think who else is a tag team. The Mecha Wolf and Adam Brooks tag team for one CML show. La Hiedra and Verano 3 Jr., although I think that's pretty much done. Tejano Jr. and Rey Scorpion, they got to be up there. I think Big Mommy and Nino Hamburguesa have earned their spot as one of the best tag teams in Mexico. But that was a fun segment. I do like the storyline. It kind of reminds me of the whole Billy Boy, Fabi Apache storyline. It kind of has that type of feel to it. The only difference is it doesn't have the great skits that whole storyline had with Grand Apache. But it kind of feels that type of storyline. I see it being something that's really that could go a long way, because you're eventually going to have to settle it. It could be something that ends up being good for Big Mommy and Nino Hamburguesa, or it could be the end of their tag team. Who knows? The third match on the show, I thought this was a surprise match. Dinastia beat La Parca Negra and Flamita, which was a total shock just because this match was not scheduled. And I don't even think Flamita was listed on this show. I know La Parca Negra was scheduled he was scheduled to be in Tiger Boy's spot in the previous match. So when he didn't appear for that, I think everybody was like, oh, I guess he's not going to be in this. But he ended up being in this match. And Dinastia winning this was a total shock. This match was really good. I thought this match had the same problem that the match from last year between Phoenix, Bandito, and Flamita had, was a really great trios match, a great three-way match, but it didn't get any heat from the crowd, and I thought this match kind of had the same issue, but it was really good. These guys were really outstanding. La Parca Negra is really good, and I thought it was good to see Dinastia kind of being moved up to these guys, to Flamita and La Parca Negra's level. I think Flamita's supposed to be heading on a Japan tour. So he kind of came in and did the job to help elevate. Was he the one that I can't remember. He was the one that lost. Well, he lost the match because Dinastia obviously won, but it kind of seemed like it was their way of like getting Dinastia a big win. I don't know if they're going to do more with Dinastia. Also, the other thing I noticed was Dinastia is a lot smaller than Flamita also. So I can see why they don't do more with him, but I also don't. I also think they could do way more just because even as a mini, he's somebody that should be more frequent. He should be a far more regular. He should be on more shows than he was on in the past. Um, the fourth match was the women's match with Tessa Blanchard, Keira, and Chica Tormenta beating Taya, Fabi Apache, and Lady Shani. I thought this match was pretty good. Tessa Blanchard is really good. I made a comment on my Twitter where I wish Tessa Blanchard had wrestled in that match. Why didn't she wrestle Anibal Jr.? Dago actually got a lot out of Anibal Jr., but I think Tessa Blanchard might have got more out of him. I think she's really good. I mean, I haven't seen her that often, but she's really. I think the only thing is that you kind of notice that the Rudas at times they kind of weren't in sync when they were doing triple team spots, but when they were doing their own thing, it was perfectly fine. The finish was kind of lame with Daga interfering and then Hijo Tirantes kind of not caring and letting them take advantage and win the match. Then you had the whole post-match thing with Hijo Tirantes and Fabi Apache, which they're gonna have a singles match at Verano de Escandalo. I think that was like the finish. I think a lot of people are going to be down on the finish, but the match itself was pretty good. Chica Tormenta's been really good in AAA. It's funny watching this match. At one point, I think people thought Kira and Lady Shani would be the best women. You know, since they signed Kira, I always thought she was going to be somebody that was going to be a lot better. But I kind of feel like Chica Tormenta and Tessa Blanchard have already passed her. And then I also kind of feel like Lady Shani still hasn't really reached that level of surpassing Fabi Apache or any, like, I actually don't, I think Tessa and Chica Tormenta are actually better than Lady Shani also. I kind of don't get the same feeling. I just don't think she's as good as Fabi. And I think she's kind of starting to slip as far. And, you know, it's also because of the booking and how AAA books certain people, because they're focusing on certain things. So she maybe hasn't had the chance to shine. And she was in that feud with Fabi Apache, but a lot of those matches had a lot of weird shit with Hijo de Tirantes. The fifth match was the best match on the show and was probably the second best match of the weekend as far as CML AAA shows go. Hijo del Vikingo and Laredo Kid and Mystices Jr. beat Eterno, Superfly, and Australian Suicide. Eterno's first match back in AAA. I think Eterno's somebody that really should be a regular either in CML or AAA. I don't know why he isn't. Obviously with AAA I know why, because he had that issue with them from getting injured, and I think he kind of soured on them for a while, and I think maybe Conan was the one that talked him into coming back. But, you know, I think CML should have been a promotion that should have at least tried to talk him into being, you know, somebody that they could use in a third or fourth match, especially as a Rudo in that capacity, just because he's such a good base for the Technicos. And I think right now the CML Rudos, they have so many guys that aren't good bases, like Bestia del Ring, and the Hijos del Infierno have gotten a little older, and then the undercard Rudos aren't that great as bases. Then you have Kawato-san as a horrible base, so you don't really have as many good guys like that. And I think Eterno would have been a good fit for that. But I also think the fact that he's got horns now and he's painting himself like a devil, that might actually work more for CML, because they have the whole Hijos del Infierno and all those type of characters. But, you know, in this match, I thought it was really solid. Superfly and Australian Suicide were really good as well. The Jinetes del Aire were fantastic. Hijo del Vikingo was awesome. He did this really cool springboard shoulder tackle off the ropes, which was fucking awesome. And obviously did all these other great dives and stuff. But I thought that was a really cool spot. Laredo Kid is really good. Mystices Jr., I'm still kind of a little down on him. I think I mentioned this in one podcast where I thought I kind of view Mystices Jr. kind of like CML's Mistico, where they're just, you know, the copies of Caristico. So, you know, they're like kind of okay, but they're not that great. So it's kind of like, I think for this week, I have the CML Mistico in a higher, I have a higher opinion of him than I have of Mysticis Jr. for this week. Although Mysticis Jr. was good, but I just think I think he's kind of like he's still, and also he's also just I think he's a little younger than he hasn't been around as much as Mistico. So maybe as he builds that up, he'll be a little bit more consistent, a little more entertaining. But in this match, it was really good. I think right now, like I said, I think he's more of a trios guy. Honestly, he's more of a trios guy. And whereas Hijo Vikingo and Laredo Kid are really, they could work in any, like a singles, tag, trios. It doesn't matter. They're just going to be really great. But that was the match to watch. The sixth match, Daga, Chessman, and Taurus beat Murder Clown, Drago, and Pagano. This match was really good. And I think the funniest thing is that Murder Clown, if you watched Lucha Capital in December, Murder Clown has improved. And you've seen it from that moment going forward. He has been really good. He's not just he's a far better worker. I think if he could be, he's kind of gone from being a guy who I thought was like a really horrible wrestler that I would never want to see to somebody who he's actually he's good in his role, and he's very good for being a big guy. Plays that role really well. This had Pagano and Chessman. I was expecting this to be horrible. It ended up being pretty good. Daga was really outstanding. Same with Drago and Taurus. Taurus is just fucking great. So I think that's what's helping. I think that's what's also helping AAA main events, that they were able to add Taurus and Puma King to their main events. And those two guys are just really good workers. So like, even if the match it might not be that great, it actually just moves up a notch better just because they're in it. And I felt this was actually kind of good because of that. Oddly enough, they had a table set up and Pagano did not go through the table. I think it ended up being Drago that went through the table. Trying to remember. I think it might have been Drago. Daga and Drago. One of those guys. Somebody went through the table and I was kind of surprised that it wasn't Pagano, which was really strange. But this basically had a finish where Chessman spit red mist into Pagano's face and fouled him. Pagano challenged Chessman to whatever type of death match he wanted, or cage match, or he even offered to put a face paint versus face paint match. Daga challenged Drago for the Latin American title. I thought this was really a cool way to set up some future singles matches. But the match itself was I thought it was better than I expected. After that, they went to Jesus Zuniga, where he announced that the Young Bucks had retained the AAA tag titles at AEW's Double or Nothing show. So they would actually be defending the titles against the Lucha Brothers again at Verano de Escandalo. So, I think that kind of saved the whole Verano de Escandalo thing, because although they could have just had the Lucha Brothers defend it. Although I think kind of, more than anything, it kind of made sure that the Young Bucks would be the ones defending the titles and they would actually show up. The main event from the Saturday show was Dr. Wagner Jr., Puma King, and Psycho Clown, and La Parca beating Rey Escorpion, Tejano Jr., Blue Demon Jr., and La Hiedra. This was actually a pretty good main event. I think because, obviously Psycho Clown is at that level where he's just really out there working hard. Then you have Puma King added to the mix, and then you have Rey Escorpion, who's another guy who works hard all the time. Tejano Jr. Dr. Wagner Jr., Blue Demon Jr. mostly, just beat the crap out of each other. They did the whole old man punches type of thing, where they're kind of like, two drunk guys fighting. It's got to be tough for Dr. Wagner Jr. to be wrestling right now, just because he's still dealing with the passing of his brother. But, I thought this was a pretty good match. La Hiedra, I think that was the only thing, like, I think I would have added another Rudo and another guy in this, because at certain points, like, guys had to work with La Hiedra and they were doing stuff with her. And I think at one point Puma King did a dive at her, and everyone was worried that she might have gotten knocked out. But she's a really good base, but I think Puma King might be a a couple of weight classes above her. I think Puma told me he was a light heavyweight. So yeah, he's a little, compared to the guys that she usually catches. Hijo de Vikingo, who's more of a, he might actually be like a lightweight. I don't even think he's a welterweight. So, and I think there's been a couple of other guys that she's worked with that were at max were welterweights. So catching a guy who's a little bit bigger, that was, but she still held her own. I actually do like her as part of the Mercenarios. It's an upgrade to La Máscara, honestly. So I thought that was a good main event. Galeno del Mal got involved. That's one of Dr. Wagner Jr.'s. That's the other son. I like how Conan didn't know who it was. So he asked Jose Manuel, and he told him, and he's like, well, that guy needs to lose a few pounds if he's going to be a wrestler. And he did. He was a big guy. I'm surprised Samoano wasn't with Rey Escorpion, but that, I don't know why, but that was kind of like that was just an overall good show, I thought. It's not the lead-in to the Verano Escandalo, because I think they have a show before Verano Escandalo. They might have another show before that also. They have two shows actually, because they have the one in Monterrey on June 9th, and then there's one on June 15th, the day before Verano Escandalo. Although I don't think that one's going to be like a big, that's not something that's going to be building up to that. I mean, it could, but I think it's going to be overload if they actually air that on Twitch. The June 9th show in Monterrey should be the one that should be the final build up. But the Verano de Escandalo lineup was announced for June 16th, and this will be in Merida, Yucatan. The opener will be Kira versus Lady Shani versus Chica Tormenta. I think it's for the AAA Reina de Reinas title. It might not be. It's possible, but at one point they actually had somebody else that was also going to challenge for the title. God, I forgot. I think it was Starfire. She was going to challenge, and for whatever reason now it's Kira and Chica Tormenta, Lady Shani. I think they just wanted to do two heels versus Lady Shani. The second match is the Fabi Apache Hol Tirantes match. I would assume they're gonna change the lineup, because I think this kind of goes against what they're. I wouldn't want to have that back to back. I would think they wouldn't want Fabi versus Hol Tirantes maybe as the third match. So I wouldn't be shocked if they moved the what's currently the third listed as the third match, which was Maximo and Mamba versus Sammy Guevara and Australian Suicide. Maybe they drop that to the second match, and then they move Fabi Apache versus Hol Tirantes as the third match. This has a lot of women on the card also, and 3 actually intergender matches, if you want to call them. It's 3 intergender matches with this one, and then after the fourth match is going to be Loretto Kid and Taya versus Daga and Tessa Blanchard, which was actually set up at this past show, this past weekend. Before that, the third match with Maximo Mamba versus Sammy Guevara and Australian Suicide. I mean, I don't even know if Sammy's going to be there, but I think Sammy and Australian Suicide are supposed to be in a faction in AAA, but who knows? That could be one of those factions that was there for one shot and never happens again. But that match, I'm not really that excited about. I could see if Maximo has his working boots on, I could see that being good. I do think the Loretto Kid Taya versus Daga Tessa Blanchard match should be good, just because I think they're going to want to have a really good match. And obviously Taya and Tess have been really, I think they've been feuding in Impact as well. But Daga and Loretto Kid are really good. The fifth match is Pagano, Aerostar, Puma King versus Chessman, Monster Clown, Killer Cross. I was going to say Killer Clown. Killer Clown is not in AAA. Killer Clown is still in the Torreon, Coahuila region as part of the Clown family. This is Killer Cross, where he will be accompanied by Scarlett Bordeaux. This basically is it's building up. I think this is more building up some singles matches for future shows. Pagano obviously is feuding with Chessman. Aerostar has been feuding with Monster Clown, and Puma King has been feuding with Killer Cross. So they put all these feuds into one trios match. I think this match might be the one that actually has a little bit more of an issue, just because the Rudos are a little more they're a lot bigger than Aerostar and Puma King. It might be good. I don't know. I've seen people have like different opinions of Killer Cross. People who have seen him wrestle in the U.S., they've kind of been a little more warm to him, whereas people have mostly watched him in AAA. They've kind of been more down on him. So I don't know what to expect from this match. I could see it being. I wouldn't be shocked if it's just. I think it's going to get a good reaction just because that's Pagano in it, and I'm sure Pagano's going to do something where he's going to, light himself on fire or something that will get the crowd going. Puma King and Aerostar always work hard, so I kind of expect this match to at least be an okay match. The sixth match is really weird as it has La Parca teaming up with Mysticis Jr. and Hijo del Vikingo versus Tejano Jr., Rey Scorpion, and La Hiedra. The new Mercenarios with La Hiedra in there. Obviously, La Hiedra is there to combat La Parca. That match should actually be good, just because if you take La Parca out of the match, which they always usually do, they usually like injure him, so they might actually take him out. If not, they could have Tejano Jr. work with him and like just having them being outside the ring, or the Rudos could take turns. But Hijo del Vikingo and Mysticis Jr. are made to work with Rey Scorpion and La Hiedra. Like I said earlier, La Hiedra is a surprisingly good base for some of the lighter weight guys in AAA. So I think that match should be. I think it's going to be okay at best. Might be good, but I mean, I don't think they're expecting a lot out of it. Hijo del Vikingo is going to just be a standout. The seventh match is probably the one that everybody's most excited about, and just to see if the Young Bucks, the reaction for them will be a lot different. I think it will be. Just because now they've seen them at the video, they've seen the matches from Rey de Reyes, they've kind of probably from seeing them on that show, they've probably gone and maybe gone out of their way to find more information on them. They've kind of there's actually more of a rivalry between them. They have the whole AEW thing, that big show that just happened, so there's a little more behind it for those two tag teams. And I could totally see the Lucha Brothers regaining those titles. I think everybody's kind of just waiting for Lucha Underground to see what happens with Lucha Underground. If it dies, then I totally see. Like, a lot of people assume that because these guys are in AAA that they're going to stay with, that this partnership is going to be long term with AAA. I don't see that being a long term thing. I could totally see AEW at some point. I think there's going to be so many changes, and I'll talk about this later because I do want to talk about AEW. I didn't watch the pay-per-view, but I do want to talk about just the whole the build up to what they're doing, and I think it's something that's going to help the business long term. In the future, I don't know if it's going to be a long term thing because we don't know. We've seen stuff that does well, and then I think this has the most potential of anything that's come up since WCW died. We've seen other promotions come and go, but I think this is the one that's probably going to be the one that lasts the longest. But I think, like I said, let me get to the tag match. It should be a good match. Some people don't like the Young Bucks. I think there's stuff that they do that kind of, if they don't do the comedy stuff, I think they're perfectly fine. And because they did a lot of comedy stuff in when they were in the Crash and their tag matches. But when they're working with the Lucha Brothers, I think this will be a fun match. I think it'll be good. The eighth match, the main event, is Dr. Wagner Jr. and Psycho Clown versus Blue Demon Jr. and Taurus. Obviously, Taurus and Psycho Clown added into this match means it's going to be a far better match than just having Blue Demon Jr. and Dr. Wagner Jr. in there. I think, obviously, it's just building up to Triple Mania. I would not be shocked if there's some interference or something just to build up something for Blue Demon Jr. I don't know what's going to happen with that. What more can you possibly do to build up Blue Demon Jr. versus Dr. Wagner Jr.? I cannot imagine Blue Demon Jr. dropping his mask at Triple Mania to Dr. Wagner Jr. I would be shocked, but I think this match should be okay at best. But really, I think on the show, everything has a potential of being good. At the same time, there's a lot of matches that could be in that, could potentially be just okay. So it's just a mixed bag, honestly. It's not like there's not a, to me, the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers is really the one match that stands out, and then everything else, there's a chance that it could be good. Also a chance it could be just an okay match. Who knows? But I think it's a pretty good looking card, honestly. I don't think it's gonna be anything that I'm gonna be down. Like, I will probably watch that show just because it actually has stuff that I'm interested in watching, and it kind of, even though they do have some guys that I don't like to watch, they kind of mixed in guys who kind of can work with them. You know, the main event, they've added Taurus and Psycho Clown. They have that other match with La Parca in it, but they actually have a really good Mercenarios trio going against them. And then like even that match where they have, you know, Monster Clown, Chessman, and Killer Cross in it. They at least have Aerostar and Puma King in it. So like everything, I think the only one is probably the third match. But you know, I think Sammy Guevara and Australian Suicide can get something out of that, out of Mamba Maximo. And I think Maximo might be able to do something. I would not be shocked if Maximo at some point decides to leave AAA just because he's kind of being kept low on the cards. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Maximo, I mean, I think him and La Máscara, if they had to do it all over again, they probably wouldn't have wrecked Ultimo Guerrero's car, because, you know, Maximo right now would probably be working main events in CML. He probably would have never lost that world heavyweight title. He probably would have been in main events. La Máscara, the same thing. And now look, La Máscara had to leave AAA, and Maximo is working a third match on a card. I think he's, well, you know, even as champion, he worked like second and third matches, but on big, like on anniversary shows. But usually he's, you know, in regular Friday shows, he was always like high on cards. So, you know, that's somebody who probably regrets what he did. But he's also probably hopeful that, you know, with all these changes in wrestling coming up with AEW, I think he's probably looking forward to what the landscape's going to look like down the road. So as far as AEW goes, I'm actually kind of excited about that new promotion starting up. I know they've already made a lot of announcements. They're already building up a roster. They just had another big show in Las Vegas that Kurt Brown went to. Maybe we'll have him on an upcoming episode so he could tell us his thoughts on the show. Since I would imagine the only wrestlers he probably was familiar with were, you know, the guys who've been around for a while, like the Young Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, Cody, Kenny Omega, obviously, because he watches New Japan. But it'd be interesting to get his side of the story, his thoughts on that promotion and what they're going to do, because he's not a regular viewer of current wrestling lately. He watches it more casually now. Because, like I said, when you grew up a fan of a certain type of wrestling, you kind of want to rewatch that again, relive it. You know, so some of us will watch, you know, some old WWF videos. Others will watch Mid-South Wrestling, Memphis, you know, or stuff you never even had a chance to watch. When I started retro wrestling, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to like start rewatching, not only rewatching some of the stuff I grew up watching, like Mid-South, Lucha Libre, some of the Japanese wrestling that I actually got into through tape trading and never really got to watch because at one point tape trading was very popular. Now it's kind of died, pretty much dead at this point. So it gives me some time to watch some of those shows that I never got a chance to watch. I would watch certain matches, but I couldn't watch an entire show because there was so much that was going on at that time. Also get a chance to watch a lot of the old stuff I didn't get to watch, like Memphis Wrestling, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I never had a chance. I actually bought this tape collector's collection. He had like Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and he was gonna he had it up for sale, and I was like, I want to watch that. I'll get that. Got that like probably 10 years ago. Never got around to watch it to just like the last year. So I've really enjoyed that show. Same thing with ECW. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to watch that's from the past, and also there's a lot of current stuff I watched with, you know, just Lucha Libre when I'm watching CMLL, or, you know, I don't watch an entire independent wrestling show, but I'll watch like the good matches. Like if there's something with Bandito, Aramis, you know, anybody like that, or Lucha Brothers, anybody that's an independent on the independent scene that's good. Dr. Cerebro, Hechicero, you know, whenever they're in indie shows, I'll watch those matches. AAA, I try to watch some of it. So I can't watch every single show, and unfortunately I didn't watch this show just because it was a weekend where I was watching CMLL and AAA, and also the price was a little too steep. I think they actually had it cheaper on if you ordered it online. I didn't really go about checking on it just because I wasn't really that excited about the lineup beyond the Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks match. Everything else I just wasn't that into. But I've actually kind of enjoyed what they've been doing as far as announcing talent that they've been bringing in. They had the surprise appearance of John Moxley. So I think it's kind of, I think everybody on online, there's been some people that have been very negative about AEW, and then there's been other people that have been very positive. I think there's also a danger when you're overly positive, when you're a total mark and you don't see anything wrong with a promotion. And I hope a lot of those people who are positive realize that there's a separation between, wanting something to succeed and those who kind of want it to succeed, but at the same time don't want to talk about the flaws that are within the promotion. I've seen it in the past. Trust me, being a Lucha fan, and Cubs fan will remember this. He's gone through it also, because we've had Lucha Underground, Lucha Libre USA, and in Mexico there's been a lot. And a lot of you guys who have been longtime Lucha fans would know about all these new promotions that pop up, with some very ambitious ideas of what they want to become, and then they just disappear. Some disappear suddenly, others kind of try to stick around a little too long. You see it in the US too, but for whatever reason, I mean, a lot of them don't get to TV to that point. And even if they get to TV, they're not on that long. I think the one that's really lasted a lot longer than anybody ever imagined was Impact. And I don't think even Impact has had the type of build that AEW is having. I think AEW they're coming in at the right time just because of social media and the way everything is like going on around pro wrestling, with New Japan getting popular, WWE going out of their way to add a lot of talent that I don't think in the past they would have even considered. I mean, who would have thought they would have so many luchadors on their roster? I mean, granted, they don't do anything with the majority of them, but they at least kind of have an eye in that part of the world. They're getting a lot of indie guys that in the past probably would have never probably even made it into WWE. So, and then you have all the smaller promotions like Impact, Ring of Honor, MLW, the independents all over the United States and Japan. I think really in Japan it's New Japan, and then the other promotions are kind of like, they kind of have some good moments, then they have some down moments. I think DDT's kind of done pretty well, and Dragon Gate, but some of the other promotions, they've kind of started to they're actually kind of starting to rebuild, honestly. I think like the last couple of times I've seen All Japan Pro Wrestling, I've really enjoyed some of the stuff that I've seen from them. I know one of their guys, I think Kento, was in Mexico this past weekend for Torreon, Mexico. There's a lot to be more excited about with wrestling, even with CMLL. I mean, I think a lot of us look at CMLL and we see how poorly booked it could be at times, but it's at least, for whatever reason, for it to be a promotion that is not mentioned among the best, or not the best, but the most known promotions. It's amazing just because they're on YouTube for free. 3 shows. I mean, think about that. Like, some promotions don't even do 1 show a week, and these guys are doing 3 shows a week on YouTube alone. They're actually doing 6 to 7 shows on a weekly basis. I think I would say 6, but then there's the 7th show in Guadalajara that has it's just local Guadalajara guys. Sometimes they'll have like Esfinge or Triton, or some of the local guys that are from Guadalajara work those shows on Sundays. But that's still like, you're getting 3 shows, and then you're also getting the Sunday show now is on television. So there's more of that. AAA with Conan coming back has added a lot more talent. The Crash, I remember when the Crash was starting to lose all the guys, I was trying to figure out when it was going to just die out. They're still going along, and they're bringing in talent from they have a relationship with CMLL. They're bringing in indie talent, so they're not thriving because they aren't getting the same crowds, but they're at least still around. So I think there's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot of positive stuff in wrestling. And I think AEW, I don't see anything negative about it right now. I think it's not like Lucha Underground, where within like just their first shows, you pretty much knew it was I think I never saw a promotion like Lucha Underground where people that were fans just gave up on it mid-season because they just couldn't stand the storylines. And I think we're a few months away. I mean, I think we'll probably see that when AEW starts TV. If it ends up being something that people don't like, we'll probably see some people like change their opinion on it. But I think they have a better shot of just being around a little longer and actually succeeding. I mean, being around for a while in pro wrestling, I mean, Impact's still around. And, there's other promotions that have had their ups and downs. AAA has had some ups and downs, going back to 95, like when it first started, honestly. They've had some ups and downs. They're still around. They had that down moment in, what was it, 96 when Conan and company left, and Pena kept going along. So I think that's when we're going to see how AEW can handle those type of moments, because there's going to be up and down moments for all of wrestling. I think right now, when they start up their TV, I could totally see that being like one of those periods where wrestling becomes popular again. And maybe not with the older fans. I think that's the other thing, that a lot of us who are a little older have been around wrestling. If it's not cool to us, we immediately think it's not good and we're not going to watch it. And there's not a lot of people that are going to go watch it. Maybe it has a hot period and a new audience shows up. Maybe there's some casual fans that kind of become what we are now, hardcore fans. In a year or two, that they become hardcore fans. I mean, how often do you find people who 5 years ago weren't watching Lucha Libre, or 10 years ago they weren't watching Lucha Libre, and they started watching it just because, Lucha Underground was on and they wanted to see the Lucha Brothers, and so they started watching AAA. Then they realized they unfortunately sat through that year where Vampiro was booking, and they kind of probably, I would assume a lot of those people left from watching AAA, but maybe they discovered CMLL while they were looking for something good that's lucha oriented, or the independents. So I think that's going to help. I think AEW, if they succeed, then you get WWE to succeed. Everybody starts to succeed, and because it kind of trickles down. It trickles down to the independents. More people get involved. So to me, I think it's all positive. And I really hope it does well. And it's going to be fun. I actually do look forward to watching the TV show. If, for all I know, it could be just as bad as what Lucha Underground became, where, the first year I was really into it. And by, I think, the first couple of episodes of the second season, I hated it. I mean, but I think they're starting in a good spot. I'm sure there's going to be stuff I don't like. That's the way it is with every promotion. And I'm sure it's going to be like that for many people. But you can't, if there's just one thing you enjoy, I think it's worth watching. And I hope, and the cool thing is now with streaming services, I mean, we won't have to, if we don't like the entire show, we could just skip through if it's a 2-hour show, we could skip through everything and just watch what we want to watch. And I think that's the other positive nowadays. You don't have to watch entire, in the, what was it, 2000, when we would have to suffer through a Nitro Thunder that was really bad. At least now you don't have to. Yeah, so I think that's about it for this week with this podcast. I'll probably do one after Juicio Final. Actually, I probably will do one after Juicio Final and Verano Escandalo. We'll just cover those two shows. So because I think next week I'm going to be a little busy with graduation. My niece is graduating, so I have to go to that on a Tuesday, and I'm doing Lucha Talk also. So I think that's about it. Check out LuchaWorld.com. You could also check the podcast on LuchaWorld.podbean.com. I think that's the right one. I don't remember. It's on the page. I always forget the information on all that. But yeah, thanks again everyone for listening, and we will talk to you guys again real soon.